What's up everybody, and welcome back yet for another video. This time we're going to install the Rising Phoenix roof system made by Madstad. Now the installation was pretty simple, made a whole lot of sense, but I hit some snags along the way and you'll find that out in the video. I was very frustrated about it, but it was still worth it at the end of the day. I also found out when I ordered this, sometime while I was waiting for it to be built, Madstad went out of business. I was actually kind of worried that this was not going to make it to me. So I said again. It showed up. I'm wondering if this is one of their last roof systems. If you guys know why Madstad went out of business, will you put it in the comments? I'd be very curious because I'm actually pretty impressed with the quality that they did with this roof system. I'm truly loving it. The only other problem I had with Madstad is I tried reaching out to them early on when I first saw this roof system, and I wanted a picture of somebody who was my height sitting in this because I was worried about headroom. They never got it to me. It wasn't until I went out to Phoenix for their Ride Now Peoria, I said again, Purge ride with 3-wheel Invasion Phoenix. Somebody rolled in with one of these roof systems and allowed me to sit in their sling, and I realized I had to have one. That is why this one is on here now. I had some headaches, but it was completely worth it. All right, so let's get started. Let's see how much of a headache this was, all right? So after first opening up every box, I'm actually pretty impressed with the fact that they labeled every single thing. Everything is nice and clean cut. I like the laser etched pieces, but I'm not going to open them just yet because knowing me, I will scratch the crap out. So I'll wait for install on that. But so far I'm pretty impressed. I did get their label to connect, join up on them. It says let's connect, but it's also support for your order and to find your model. Let's see if we can scan this QR code and see if we could find, because the only instructions I've ever found on this were on YouTube and they're pretty old, so I wasn't 100% in believing that I was going to be able to find this stuff. So let's see what we got. This is what I get. So I'm going to have to go based off the YouTube videos because Madstad did do a really good job with this. They need the credit. So now I'm going to get to the YouTube video and see what my first step is, because I know we gotta strip the whole back end of this off, including what I have to do is remove that wing because both the roll hoops have to come off. So I got to get to that, get started on that, and that's going to take a while. I'll more than likely do a time lapse so that way you guys don't have to see that whole headache, all right? So let me get right back to you. And there we have it. We finally got the rear deck off, and I want to make a correction. So what I found on YouTube was actually the instructions on how to remove most of the rear deck, which was pretty easy. Lots of screws, but pretty easy to get done. Now what I need to do is get into the written instructions or the PDF form online and figure out what my next step is. I know how to install that center mount somehow, so give me a half second or two and we'll be right back and we'll get that started, all right? So, the instructions I was following, because none were provided, were an outdated version of the installation instructions. So, the main center bracket that goes between the seats did not come with this order because it no longer has to be installed. They came up with a different design. So, after trying to figure out and going through every box and every package to make sure it was not missing or packed in a different location, I went ahead and gave Sling Mods a call. Thank you, Sling Mods. Not only was their customer service guy attentive, patient, understanding, and knowledgeable that this has happened in the past, because remember, Madstad went out of business September last year. This is now January. So he still remembered that piece of information and was able to locate the PDF version of the instructions and email them to me, not only within a few hours, within minutes. Like, that is awesome. I appreciate Slingbox for that. Saved me a bit of a headache, but the headache still arrives that I didn't have to do all that work. So now I got to do all that work again, but in reverse. And right now my OCD is like, hey, since you have it off, might as well clean it. I'm not going to do it. It's too cold outside. So from here, I am going to just put everything back on, put all the screws back into place, this many of them, and get that roof back on, get the roll hoops installed so that I can install the, I think they call it the rear hoop mount. So I can get that in place so that I can install this roof. Would have been nice to have had the instructions in the box and not waste 3 hours of my day doing all that. Oh, God dang it. Okay, rear deck is back on. That took a bit of time, but it is finally done. Now we got to get trucking on getting the instructions that I should have received when I got the roof and start from there. Right? So much fun. But let's get some detailed into that and show you up close what it takes to put on this roof that you can't buy anymore. I just realized that. On a side note, after looking at some of the instructions last night, I'm realizing I may not be able to put my spoiler back on because the brackets cover the openings on the hoop, so I may have to redesign that too. Instructions. These are apparently the latch pin plates that get installed. This job requires 2 people. I'm going to do it myself. Things are about to get hectic. Watch this stuff. I screwed up. Forgot to put the rear plate on. But now comes the problem. Okay, good news, bad news. Good news is I could probably do this by myself. Not too big of a problem. Cumbersome, but I can get it done. Bad news number 1. I now realize I could probably put the spoiler on, but I have to put the spoiler on now because these plates block where the spoilers mount to. Bad news number 2, I have to undo everything I just did. It is what it is. At least I can get the spoiler on. I don't have to reinvent it. So just a reminder, this is why you pay shops to install your stuff, to save you the headache of everything I'm doing completely wrong. Make it their problem. So instead of mounting the spoiler right now, I think it's just going to be in my way as I'm moving around, trying to manipulate parts. We're going to leave the spoiler off for now and stay right here. Well, I'm thinking about it. Now's the time to dry fit this to make sure it's going to go on. Not at all. It suck, man. Oh no, you face down. Either way, I don't think it fits, but I need to modify it. Let me show you. So here, we can live with that. Those bolts will go straight through. But over here, they're off. I am not 100% certain why one side is higher than the other. And I don't know where I want to give my attention to make this work. I'm gonna try a couple of things. The hammer always works, right? Let's see what we can pull off. I have an idea, but it's gonna take me some time, so we're gonna cut. So kind of messed up again. Because I installed those spoiler brackets, this plate was supposed to come back into here. And there's some bolts that were going to go through here to the front side. And now that can't happen anymore. So I'm surprised they used this, I guess, to clean it up. But they're the same blocks we used up here on the top. Weren't to use. They didn't make any for here. It looks like it bolts straight on just below here, and I don't get what the heck this hole was for, because that's all the work I'm doing is for this hole and this hole, and then I'll have to cut the bracket on this end and work it in till I get to the right spot so I get a clean look. All that for the 2 bolts, but I'm not going to do that now. This is kind of a side project, and right now it's not going to get the roof on or the spoiler on. It's going to be towards the end. But I'm going to keep on moving forward, see if we can't get the rest of this roof on. These are some pretty impressive heim joints, considering it's just for the roof. Alright, it ain't bad. Let's see if I can ruin it. Oh, you bastard. Alright, so this is supposed to mount right here. Can't mount this because I put the spoiler on. because those bolts are supposed to go all the way through to the other side and mount to that bracket I just talked, that rear mount bracket. Told you I was gonna have to cut to put the bolts on this side. More problematic, as this is annoying, but now I gotta mount this to this plate, no through bolts. I have to go to the store and buy some bolts. So much fun. Where I messed up is this bracket is supposed to bolt in right here. These bolts are supposed to go all the way through. I can't do that because I mounted the spoiler in the rear, so that bracket's in the way. So what I gotta do is go to the hardware store, get some bolts, short ones, to go from here to mount this so that I could put the strut bar in place. All right, went down to the local hardware store, Ace, and got what I needed. Hopefully I forgot something, so then I end up having to go back and get more frustrated. But here we are, let's keep going. I need lights. Just because they clearly don't push through enough. This way I feel a little bit more comfortable, confident that this is going to hold much better. That's all the thread that was shown before compared to now. So the next strange problem I have is I gotta put this bracket on. I gotta put a screw in place and somehow get this nut behind it. Which as of right now is not a whole lot of room. I want to use the magnet, but the magnet is way too fat in it. Of course it is. You have some tweezers that might do the job. I am got a concern that this nut is just going to hit the hoop. So I'm going ahead and just going to remove that one and just put in the lower bolt. Because nothing ever bad happens just by leaving out a few bolts, right? Everything's fine. And you know, squint, it's mid. One fun fact that I'm not happy about is I need to find a piece of rubber to fit between this and the roll hoop because it will hit. So I'm in the slingshot now. I'm gonna try to lift up. I'm gonna try and lift up, get some of the pressure off of this so that this arm can fall into place, because it just seems like it's just a hair off. Or more than a hair. There we go. Nothing like 280 pounds standing on a plastic floor, not to wig you out. All right, now it's time to do the same on the passenger side. So I left this loose to help give me some play, but looks like there's barely any to begin with. Cab with a slingshot. This is so far off though. everything up. So it looks like the next step is to install this center skin per the instructions. So let's get it unwrapped. It looks like this is just like a piece of acrylic, not metal. I assumed acrylic because it was so lightweight, but it's metal. Good finish on it as well. I'm not too surprised though. Madstad does come back with some good reviews on their quality. Nice little step on the rear. That Rising Phoenix emblem. Actually, no, that is on the front. I'm backwards. Center skin hardware. Center skin installed. See what we got to do next. Install the rear top skin brackets. What the I smell what you're cooking. Wing brackets apparently bolt in between here. Let's see how bad this goes. I love that they are pre-assembled with the bolts, so I don't have to figure out where they go. I'm having some alignment issues. I went ahead and checked the alignment on the front bracket, and it looks like it's pushed a little more to the passenger side, whereas the rear bracket is kind of on center. And I did that not purposefully, but because I was trying to file that spoiler bracket down. So I kind of inadvertently centered it, but never checked the front plate to make sure it was centered as well. So now I got to loosen it and scoot it over just so that I can get these so that they're not maxed out. So let's do that real quick. Fun fact, I wasn't recording that side. Matter of fact, I don't know the last time I was recording. So, quick synopsis. I went ahead and installed these wings because I can't find the bracket pack that goes to mount these to the rear. So instead of fumbling around trying to figure out which one it is, I went ahead and installed these so that I could put these 4 bolts into place and keep moving forward. Eventually I'm going to come to a box or pack that doesn't belong to anything, and when that moment comes, then I will be able to say, okay, this pack is for these brackets, because it's not clearly labeled. So anything I can to keep moving forward. Now as I put this on, I am going to share my thoughts that I have some concerns that the spoiler along with this roof are going to leave very little space back here, which could look really cool or could look really horrible. In fact, I didn't take this bolt out before I put the skin on, because that would have made too much logical sense. I'm really liking this. The color matches okay. I'm not going to complain too much, because a lot of companies have trouble with color matching across platforms. What's really bothering me is that's not going to work. This bracket needs to come forward in order to give me enough thread to tighten that nut on there. But unfortunately, because I said this doesn't line up right and I was worried about it, what I was concerned with actually ended up happening. Ooh, it's a little too much. Alright, at least before the washer wouldn't even fit on. At least now I was able to do that, but now the washer just popped off. I would try to get you guys a camera angle on this, but there is absolutely no way between these small parts and my fat fingers. You won't see it. That's not the right one. Okay, I'm going to assume I have the same problem on the other side, but since you already saw it here, no need to watch it a second time. Next step is to attach the acrylic panels to the gull wing door. What I'm not a fan of is it looks like on the photo they actually attach this with the paper on, which is fine. But if you do that, you'll have paper underneath each one of those bolts. So on this one, on this side, they have a nice little edge to cut off. But on this side, there's nothing. So on the outside, I'm going to face this on the outside. so I don't have to worry about scratches underneath. I'm going to face this upward. You know what? Why don't you guys come join me? Surprisingly, there's not a single washer underneath this, which is rather surprising. You would think. I'm sure somebody out there is going to tell me it's a bad idea to take that acrylic off, but I really don't want to be taking the bolts off, the nuts off later, just to take the paper out from underneath it. I'm not tightening them right now just because, as we all know, as you get further along in the project, things have a tendency to loosen up or tighten up. So I might as well just keep everything all nice and loosey-goosey until everything's in place, and then you can tighten it all up as we go. And sure, somebody out there is like, oh God, you're gonna scratch that acrylic. You know what? It's gonna get scratched. With everyday use, whether I put the scratch in it today or put the scratch in it 5 minutes from now, but over time this acrylic's gonna show scratches anyway. And if it gets really bad, we can sand it down and repolish it to a crystal shine, or better yet, get in another color like a red, or have paint over and plastic dip them in gold, so that way there's no sun coming through, especially on those hot days or those hot rides. Minimize that. So there's always options. I mean, in this slingshot world, you guys know the rules are whatever you make them out to be. So if you don't like something, change it the way you want it. I think that's one of those things in the slingshot world, is everybody does their own thing, and if somebody else doesn't like what you did, that's too bad. You didn't do it for them, you did it for yourself. I've done that a couple of times to a few people where I look at their modifications and I'm like, there is no way, that is completely stupid, that is dumb. But you know what? End of the day, it's for you. If your modifications that you make to your ride get you out on the road, get you out there into a three-wheel community, then I don't care what your modification is. You do you. Somebody's opinion is different from yours. That sounds to me like that is their problem. All right, so we got the center acrylic put in, we got the front acrylic. Now we need to decide which frame goes to what. I honestly don't know if I started with the passenger side here or the driver's side. See which one's which. Okay, those line up. Cool. I still don't know if this is the driver or passenger side, but let's find our hardware. It's amazing the size of these tiny little bolts. So apparently on this, I'm supposed to take this off, this latch, in order to do everything I need to. But I'm gonna be stubborn for a moment. I'm always stubborn. And see if I can't just do this by hand. Minimize the amount of problems I'm going to have taking something off that I don't necessarily have to take. Did you stay behind? You did. I see bad things happening that way. What I'm not a fan of is this bracket sits on top of that acrylic. You can design that any other way. I'm sure that would have been a better option for that, but that's what they went with. But if I was so damn smart, right, I'd be the engineer creating this stuff, right? So I can't tighten this one too tight because it'll be pinching the acrylic. If I ever want to do anything to the acrylic, the frame's got to come off. Just realized this is the passenger side. Ready for all the shenanigans? I'm going to try to install this gull wing by myself. It's supposed to be a two-person job, but I'm stubborn. All right, so I have got the gullwing attached, but I was having difficulty with the latching system. I ended up having to grind the tip down so that it would clear and latch. It looks like I am pretty much as done as I can be right now. I did do a little bit of rigging that I probably shouldn't have done, but it is due for a good reason. Stainless steel bolts, they have a tendency to strip. I stripped those bolts out. No surprise there, right? But for the most part, everything works. Come under, hit the latch. Latch comes up. Ooh, time to have some fun, guys. A little ASMR. Come on. Need to be holding the mic. And that is it. It is finally installed. Got the last little touch-ups done. I know I'm missing a couple screws in the back, but as you can see, also got the spoiler back on, which just cleans out the whole look. I'm loving this roof, even though it cannot be purchased anymore. I believe Madstad did a really good job designing this. I love the angles on it, which kind of complement some of the angles on the slingshot compared to other roofs. I love not having any A-frame posture blocking my view here. It makes it so much nicer. Install was complicated just because, as you remember, no instructions at the beginning. That really annoyed me, but it is what it is. Sling Mods came through like a champ, helped me out. I appreciate them greatly on this. I was able to get it on Sling Mods with a discount because it was on sale, and I'm glad I finally bought it when I did because I can no longer get it again. So I love the red and black. If you go to Madstad's, or when you could go to Madstad's website, they actually had a 2022 SLE, and these are the colors they had on it, with the exception of the center support. It was more of a bronze to kind of go with the gold, and they did not give that option for this build. Kind of wish they did, but down the road I may paint that, may powder coat it, may change that to do what I actually wanted to do. Other than that, there's a whole lot of tiny little screws. I believe these are 2mm bolts, 2 or 3mm, and it gets tedious at times, but I'm glad I got it. I'm glad it's installed. I am now ready for my trip. I want to remind you guys, if you've made it this far, you actually enjoyed the video, I believe you should subscribe. Put your notifications on. I don't post a lot, but when I do, I try to make it best I can and just keep you guys notified. Don't forget to make some comments. If you guys know what happened to Madstad as a business, let everybody know. Help us keep an eye and see if they're going to come back, because if they do come back, this is going to be really nice to do. That's it. Here we're at the end of the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and I will see you next time, hopefully in the streets.